Hi, Suzanne. Again, I'm the study coach, and welcome to Wednesday webinar. And we're going to listen to Zara talk about her journey to become a barrister. Now, you remember that we had part one last week where she was doing her A levels, and then she went to bar school and did her bar exams, and things got in the way. There was life, there was resits, and now we're looking at the second part of Zara's journey. And in this part, with everything that's gone on this week with football and people judging other people and being abusive, I kept asking myself the question, well, what is the difference between football and other walks of life? It is so similar. We work hard. Sometimes things don't go right. Things get messed up. And it's about how you get share my the video with you, which Zara and I did earlier on in the week. And it's an amazing video about it. How would you describe, if you had 2 or 3 words, this part of your journey to becoming a barrister, the stage called pupillage?
Obviously extremely competitive without saying, but it's emotionally draining. I think that's the best way to say it, and it's the survival of the fittest. Either you're in it to win it, or that's it, somebody else is going to take your place.
How do you start this process of getting pupillage?
So obviously once you've passed the bar course and called to the bar, the next step ultimately is the vocational training of a pupillage. So for me personally, I have to identify what area of law I'm interested in, and that naturally allows me to eliminate chambers that are not relevant to me or that I'm not going to be a right fit for. And I look at where I want to practice, and kind of like what my criteria is, and to see whether or not there are chambers that I fall within that I could potentially apply to.
So what area of law, Zara, are you keen to work in the future?
So I'd say common law, especially family law, employment, and I've developed a very keen interest in practicing in human rights and modern. Be let loose eventually and just start off.
So you decide, first of all, what areas of law you feel a natural affinity to.
Yeah.
And how do you actually apply to chambers to get pupillage? Or
so obviously in terms of, so in terms of, obviously I've got to first of all make sure that I've got some experience in these areas of law. So that is all about obviously building up experiences on your CV. In terms of the actual applying directly to chambers, it's either through the most common and the most the way everyone normally does it is through the Pupillage Gateway, which is open live once a year, and then there's other routes which is normally a lot of chambers advertise through Pupillage Gateway, but they may be outside the gateway timetable, and that could be either through a CV and cover letter or an application form, and then a lot of it's just spending time researching through chambers website, looking at the barristers' profiles, looking at their pupillage recruitment, looking at the processes, and it kind of just allows me to think whether or not I have any chance.
Mm-hmm. So once you've applied to a chambers that you think is doing the subject that you're interested in, and you've looked at the profile of the chambers, what usually happens next?
So in terms of, obviously, when I apply, I've just got to make sure that I sell myself in a way, because when that application comes through, there's going to be thousands or hundreds of people applying to that chambers. What is it about me that stands out? Why is it? I need to sell myself on paper first before I sell myself in reality. And you know, it's about being authentic and about being unique, but being true to yourself. I mean, I'm sure everyone will say that being a barrister was a childhood dream of mine. For me, reality, it wasn't. But I felt through my life experiences, I came to it naturally. So I always look at how I can be true to myself, and I try to sell myself on paper. And then obviously ultimately it just goes through the process of sifting and whether or not I get chosen for an interview.
You have interviews, your mindset at that stage?
I think I tend to be a person that's not really frightened or scared of anything. And there's only two things in life which really scare me. The first was when I used to do my driving test. My legs used to shake. And now it's
Zara, how many times did you do your driving test?
Oh, I think I must have done it twice, because what happened was, Suzanne, between me and you, the first time round, I did my driving test. Let's just say the driving instructor was left scared by my driving. He had to hold onto his seat and said, "You're worse than a boy racer." And then secondly, it's pupillage interviews. It's just, oh God, and my mind just boggles, and I just become so hot and bothered by it, because I'm just constantly overthinking how I'm coming across.
Yeah. But it's that feeling. Sometimes in the past, I know that I've gone for an interview for a job. I've got into the shortlisted candidates, and then it's almost like you want the job so much, you just can't perform because you're so focused on, I'm almost there, it's in touching distance, and that sort of has an effect on you psychologically to the stage where it's your worst performance ever because you so wanted that job.
Definitely. I'd say normally when I go for job interviews, I'm like a cocky person in the sense and I'm going to say this loud, with the job that I'm in currently, I even said it to one of the safeguarding leads, I completely blagged my way through the job, the interview, because I was just, like I said, sometimes I'm very good at thinking on my feet, and I'm like, I know what to say, I'll think quick. But that doesn't work with me for pupillages. Interviews, it just is completely different, and I'm back again, like trying to find a way through. So normally when I do attend job interviews, I'm quite confident within myself, and if I don't know something, or if I've not prepped, I'm like, okay, I can kind of just blag it and just say what I think they want to hear. But with pupillage interviews, it's completely opposite for me.
And how would you describe I know you say that it makes you nervous, you're not yourself. What do you do to try to get over that? Because I think there'll be other people listening thinking, okay, I have all these problems. How do you get over that nervousness, and how do you bring the best out in yourself?
I just think to myself, if I don't take this opportunity, someone's going to take it off my hands. If I don't sell myself, somebody will sell themselves. And I always think that the panel in front of me from the inside won't know what I'm feeling. It's about the outside and how I present myself. Even if I don't know my stuff, but as long as I'm confident in how I'm saying it and how I'm communicating that, I think that goes a long way. And I think rule number one, believe in yourself. I've always laughed and joked and said, I don't know how I've come to the bar. I don't know how I've gone from being the worst student and having a history of being, constantly in trouble, to coming to the bar. But then at times I think to myself how far I've come and how amazing I've done. And I think the first thing you need to do is believe in yourself. You've got that far. You've got to the round where the panel actually want to see you face to face and interview you. Not everyone gets through that, and I think if you can be confident and have that conviction within yourself, the rest will eventually fall in place.
If you keep pushing, you keep moving forward, eventually you're going to get that pupillage. Is that the sort of attitude you need to have?
Yes, I would say, but you need to be honest with yourself about how reality whether or not you're in it to win it, whether you're in it all the way to the end, or you're going to give up. For me, at the moment, giving up is not an option. Like I said, at the moment, I don't see a career beyond what I want to do, as in becoming a barrister. I'm not oblivious to the fact that how competitive it is, and I know that there's a lot of difficulties for someone from my background to make it to the bar. But if anything, it gives me more ammunition and it gives me more motivation to get to the bar, so I can just turn around and say I've made it.
How are you sort of honing your skills at the moment to help with your interview?
So first of all, obviously by undertaking mini pupillages in relevant areas of practice. I've done quite a lot of mini pupillages, but I'm also doing things outside the box, or I'm doing experiences that not everyone does. So like, for example, a lot of people do tend to go have jobs as a paralegal or a legal assistant. My employment history has gone from working in Marks and Spencer's to working as a barista in Starbucks, to being a will writer, to working as a voluntary counsellor for Childline, to working as an investigations officer for South Yorkshire Police, to now being a modern slavery caseworker. So I've had to have an experience to make me an all-round candidate, not just in the legal field, but in different aspects. And I also look at, I try and build my skills, my interpersonal skills, and do more about leadership roles. Also, things that don't make me look like a law robot person. So it shows that I'm a person that I do have a life beyond law. And
it's important as well, you know, if you represent diverse people and you yourself have had a diverse background and diverse interests, it's not just been that mono law background, it actually makes you more able to engage and be in touch with the clients.
Definitely. I think because I've always worked with people from different backgrounds, I've worked with vulnerable clients, I've worked with emotional people, I've worked with so many different types of people that I can actually sit and have a conversation with anybody. I don't panic now when I walk into a room and think I need to adapt myself, because it comes naturally to me now. It's second nature. Like, for example, in my current role now, I work with Home Office, I work with solicitors, I'll also work with the police, and I'll also work with my clients who are extremely vulnerable. I'm able to adapt myself according to the needs of my audience, and it becomes natural for me. And I think that's really important, to have a background and to build experience in different areas, and not just law, because it makes you become a better person. And I think it opens your eyes up a lot more. And for me, I've only seen the benefits of it so far.
How has the journey been? Do you have a pupillage offer at the moment?
No, I don't. So this is my first year of applying for pupillage. And what me and my friend did is we made a spreadsheet. We made a spreadsheet where we've listed all the chambers we've applied for, and then we've done name of chambers, application type, due date, submitted by, outcome, etc. And it's all like fantastically color coded. 2 pupillage interviews, one back in January, and one was over this, I think from May to July. I made it through to the final round. Unfortunately, I fell quite short of being offered an interview. That this was my first year, given that we're now in a pandemic where a lot of chambers I applied for withdrew from the process. Not a lot of people can stay in the first year of applying that they've managed to even get an. From January to April, I submitted over 40 plus.
Oh wow! Okay.
And it's fair to say that that the colour of the outcome applications were all red, as in rejected, rejected, rejected.
I love the idea. You've got this spreadsheet and you're organising it all, and you've got it. It's like a military operation, and maybe that's how now students have to think about pupillage process. It is a military operation. You know, you've got your goals, your agenda, and you have to just keep pushing forward with, you know, your organisation, and as you said, just being resilient.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it's because I need to know in front of me how many applications I've made, and more importantly, it allows me to look at where I'm going wrong. If clearly all I'm getting is rejections bar the two, it allows me to think of what it is that I'm doing wrong, and to have that track record, it just allows me to make sure that I'm not making as many mistakes as I should be making, and it just allows me to just keep a track record of things. And I think it's something that I will eventually look back in life, hopefully once I've made it with pupillage, etc., and it will allow me to realize how hard and difficult the process was, but the fact that I've finally made it through will be even more rewarding.
Absolutely. I mean, all the best things are not given to you easily, and sometimes the things that you enjoy the most are the things that are the most difficult to actually achieve. So in all of this process where you've had to like make your applications, you're doing your work as well to develop your skills, what do you do to relax, to chill out, to enjoy yourself? Are you still doing any creative writing?
So I recently did start some poetry following this whole George Floyd, the death of George Floyd, and I started to do something because at the moment I'm the co-chair of a equality and diversity task force at the charity organisation I'm working for, and a lot of that is now about bringing diversity into the workplace, talking about racism, white privilege, microaggression. And one of the ways I tend to express my feelings is because I tend to keep myself to myself in terms of my feelings. I don't really open my true self to people. It's difficult for me. And how I do it is through poetry. And I started poetry at the age of 13 when a school friend of mine passed away in the Sheffield floods in 2007. And from there, I just ended up writing about things. And it was good for me. And I think that's why those who know me know that I can write massive essays, and I could just go on. And I think that's the reason why it comes from my passion in writing.
Yeah, wow. Okay, well, you know, I'd love at some stage to hear the poetry or see it written, and maybe, you know, there's no reason why law and creative writing cannot go together.
I'm just thinking, Suzanne, imagine I was in court and I presented my client's case in a poem. Could you just imagine how that would go down?
Yeah, I'm not sure many judges would be amenable to poetry in their court, but there's no reason why outside of court you can't be a barrister and a live poet at the same time. You know, I just love this idea that you can do two very different things, be creative and then have this very sort of naturally conservative career as a barrister. You know, the legal the better. What do you think?
Definitely. I mean, I recently saw on the Bar Standard Board website that they're doing something called a reverse mentoring scheme, and that's where ethnic minority students that have passed the bar or pupils teach and educate white barristers that they may not normally have contact with about diversity and inclusion at the workplace. So I saw that, and that's an absolutely fantastic kind of opportunity. So I did submit my application to take part in it last week, and I'm hoping to hear something in a few weeks' time. But in general, I think the bar is eventually and gradually changing. I know that when I started the bar, I heard a lot about how the profession is a very white male dominated area. You know, I'm somebody who wears a headscarf. I'm a female and I'm from an Asian background. I remember when I went to Gray's Inn for a qualifying session, I was I was dining in a table with students and barristers, and I was next to a barrister. And bear in mind, I was very new to the profession as I'd just started my bar course, and she'd said to me, Zara, like, how do you feel wearing the headscarf? And I'd only started wearing the headscarf in 2014, and this was a few years later. And I didn't really know what she was trying to say to me. So me being me, I was like, it's fine, you know, I'm used to it, etc. And she was like, she goes, look, you know, you've come to the bar, you're an Asian woman, you know, there's already hurdles you're facing, and on top you're wearing the headscarf, and that will close doors. Would you ever consider taking off the headscarf to succeed at the bar? That's what she said to me.
And what did you say?
This lady was also of an ethnic background. I was like, is there some, you know, is there some meaning behind why she's saying this to me? Is there some personal experience? And I remember, Suzanne, what I said to her, I was like, I would never take it off, because I'm a firm believer that what is written for me is going to be for me, whether I change myself or don't change for myself. And you know, if the bar is for me and becoming a barrister is for me, it will become mine eventually. Whether it's now 5, 6, 7 years, 10 years down the line, it will be mine. And I don't want to change myself, and I don't want to sell myself in that way. I would want people to want me for who I am, not for who they want me to be.
Right. So that was amazing. That was amazing. I really just want to touch base with some of the things that Zara said, which can't be true in the sort of time that we've got at the moment. You have to be in it to win it. When you really want something, there's no half measure. You're going to be committed to doing that task, whatever the obstacles are. Excuse me, whatever people throw at you, you're going to buckle down. Whatever advice you get, if you really want to do something, you have to be focused, you have to be determined. Yes, realistic. You see that Zara's made over 40 applications. She's had interviews. She's got the final stages, but still no pupillage at this stage. But you have to really be in it to win it. I love that saying. And the other thing that Zara really said that I thought was important was that you have to sell yourself so that you stand out. And just listening to Zara and seeing all the things that she's done to make her CV and her experience so applicable to somebody who would be successful at the bar, working different areas, from Marks Spencer, Starbucks, investigating with the volunteer work. Absolutely amazing. All of those things. Can you imagine if you were lucky enough to get somebody like Zara as a barrister that you had to interact with at court? It would be such a pleasant, lovely experience, not difficult, and not at a time when you're really nervous. Have someone there who has empathy, compassion, able to speak to people from all different backgrounds, whether it's an institution, an organization, a charity, or a private individual. And what Zara said at the end, she's not going to change herself. She is who she is. I don't want to change myself. What we've learned this week, with all the problems there's been in football, is that is an important characteristic. People should never ever have to change who they are in order to be successful. In fact, who you are is going to make you successful. Thank you to the amazing Zara for the interview. We listen to week 3 in a couple of weeks' time. But I hope that Zara's story inspires you to keep going, to be motivated, to be dedicated, but your authentic and unique self, and to always find something about your special talents. You know, Zara, she's a creative writer, she does poetry, but she's a very good lawyer as well. So try to make sure that you are utilizing every single talent and skill that you've got. And as Zara's told us, Sell yourself, believe in yourself, and you will be far more competitive if you can do that. Thank you very much for joining me on Wednesday webinar, and I will see you next week. Bye, everybody.